Welcome back to Matching It Garage. Today we are going to continue on the rust repair on our 1955 Chevy 3100 cab. Last week we got this A-pillar all patched back in. Looks pretty good. I did a little bit of sanding in here. You can see it's bare metal here. It's the same on that side. I just wanted to really see what I was getting into patching above the windshield here. But I can see I had some couple spots here that I missed. We'll have to get those taken care of. But we're going to work on putting this above windshield patch panel in. I'm going to use most of it because, as you might be able to see up here, I started wire wheeling in here and the rust holes just showed up everywhere. You can see over there, got a little bit of mouse house hanging. I didn't think the mouse nests were that bad. And then I blew some air in this hole here and it just started pouring out on that side. So I'm gonna get that pulled out of there and then we'll start working on getting this marked up. Now, this panel is pretty universal to 55.5 through 59, I believe it is. And the patch panel has two openings for sun visors. The 55 only has a driver's side sun visor. So I want to keep it with just the one sun visor. That's how it came, that's how it needs to be. So we're going to work on getting that marked out so that I don't have to cut this part out, so that we can just patch it in and it'll just continue to be that stock factory look. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and then we'll start marking things up and cutting. Alright, so I got the hole all vacuumed out, got all the mouse nests cleaned up. So the first thing I want to do is just figure out what we need to cut. You know, I'm not a body guy by any means. I don't know if it shows, but we're going to figure this out. So I'm thinking, let's just get this clamped up kind of where it goes. Which I think is, you know, of course it's not going to fit perfect because, you know, there's multiple layers here. I need more hands. Hopefully I didn't crush anything there. All right. So that's, you know, if it's good enough to get a decent picture out of it. And it's not even where I lined it up. Come on now. That's better. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, you know, compared to the original sun visor hole, you know, and then we've got it curved, takes a little bit of the curve on the top. So just kind of lining some of that up, you know. And with any reproduction panel, you know, they're not going to be perfect. If you're expecting perfect, you're probably in over your head. So, I mean, it's going to need some adjustment. These corners where the headliner goes, that one doesn't seem too bad. This driver's side one, that's definitely bent down. The corners that go over to the A-pillars, those are curved too much. You know, so it's going to need some finesse. But the two ends where they're curved too much, we don't really need those. So I can cut those off and then it should line up pretty well. This side over here, like I said, I don't want that sun visor hole in there. So we'll probably cut that somewhere in here and just go right up to the headliner loop and get rid of that altogether. We don't need to get into that corner. But we've got holes and it's thin along the whole bottom, so I want to use the whole piece. On this side, you know, the sun visor hole lines up pretty good. We've got some, you know, I haven't touched this A-pillar yet, so we still have some rot above the layers of sheet metal here for the A-pillar. I'm hoping to tie that all in to the A-pillar and weld it solid like I did over here. Still need to clean that one up a bit. But I'm kind of wondering if we don't just leave the factory sun visor hole and do the same thing over here and kind of come up like that. Because there's no rot in the corner. So, and we don't need to get into that corner structure. There's a lot of spot welds and such that just really don't want to get into. So I'm kind of thinking, I can just draw some marks here. Kind of thinking something along yeah, I know you probably can't see it's a black Sharpie on a black panel, but and kind of the same over here. We just go right from the corner where it's the A-pillar and then kind of just a straight line over. That's the crookedest straight line ever. And that should be a fairly good starting point. Because once we've got that, I was thinking we'd cut the replacement panel first, make sure that's going to cut everything, and then we'll cut it out, we'll set it up here, we'll put some lines on the rusty metal there, and then we'll cut it long so that we can adjust it back to it so we get a good fit. You know, you can always put it back, you can always weld more material in there, but if we take our time, which I'm not good at, then we can get it lined up good. So I'm going to get this replacement panel cut on those lines, and that'll be a good start for us. All right, so I got our piece cut out here. Both sides are not the same, but that's okay. Let's clamp this up here and see what we've got. All right, so got a straight cut over there. Did a little kind of a jog cut there. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting into that sun visor hole. But I think that's going to be pretty good. It's hard to say how far it'll come down once we get the old stuff cut out and it actually goes all the way up into place. But from here we can mark both sides and then cut on the inside of the line a little bit. Make sure we've got enough room to fit it. And then that should turn out pretty good, you know. This is by no means a fast process, and you know, I'm a millennial. I want everything now, so I'm no different than anybody else. But let's mark this here, see what we've got. All right. All right, so I don't know if you can see the lines on there, but that was part of the reason I sanded it down so we could actually see our lines. So that looks like it takes care of just about every bit of rust, even the holes. I know there's some structure in the corners here that comes out to about there. So there's like 4 or 5 spot welds on the bottom each side there. And there's like one right there. I think that might be it for the middle. So I think we'll just cut it off. Probably, I don't know, maybe leave a 1/4 inch on the inside of the line. And then we'll be able to actually see in there, see what we've got to do to get the skin off that structure. So I'm gonna grab the cut-off wheel and start cutting. I'm probably gonna cut straight across the bottom here, and then just like I did on here, just cut away the big chunks, and then I can worry about the spot welds on the pinch weld here, you know, which the rust got down into it here, so it'll work out good that we're putting some material back into that windshield pinch weld. So I'll grab the cutoff wheel and we'll get at it. All right. Well, that went just about as expected. You can see there's more rot in the outer panel than I anticipated, but that's, you know, par for the course. Just a lot of buildup in there. A lot of mouse house, and it's like dirt. You know, it's like you just look at some of these things and it's like, how do they even get in there, you know? But they fit just about everywhere. I'm sure this back one's full of mouse house too. So I think what I'm going to do is fire up a compressor and blow some air up this A-pillar, see if we can't blow a bunch of that garbage out of there. Same thing on this side. And then we'll start working on the pinch weld and getting the rest of this off here. You know, there's a spot weld there, we'll drill that. Actually might not even need to. This side just kind of popped right off. And then I got to drill the spot welds on the bottom yet. But not that much has changed. Oh, there's that little knob there holding it out. So, all right, well, I'm gonna get it cleaned up a little bit and we'll keep moving. All right, so I got this panel fitted, got it all cut, you know, so the lines going up the side, you know, here. Those are all fitting nice. Got to grind all the paint off yet so we can get that tacked in. But first, we've got to do one other panel, and that's right up under here, under the front lip of the windshield. I've got it here, and so this will go up in there. And then before I weld anything, I want to get that, I know you probably can't see it with all the shadows, but I want to get that in there, get it all clamped together where it's going to be. So we're not kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by, you know, putting the wagon before the horse. So we got to start drilling spot welds. Under this lip is all spot welds. You know, obviously we've already got that part taken care of, and then we'll figure out on the sides here where to cut, because I don't want to come all the way down into this A-pillar and get into the lead joint and all of that. So a little bit more, but I thought there was just a couple of pinholes on the outside part, but then you wire wheel it and find some more, and it was super thin, so it's just might as well replace it now instead of dealing with it later. All right, so I started drilling the spot welds out on this outer windshield piece. I've got it marked out where I'm going to cut it. I think I've got the piece up there already cut. So I'm going to cut both sides and then start chipping away at these spot welds. I tried to get as centered on them as I could, but they weren't real defined to get a good hole drilled on them. So just take our time and try not to mangle up the roof skin and try to get everything off there in one piece. Well, now let's see if we can't get this peeled off of here. And there we have it. That came off a lot more difficult than I anticipated. And it was cracked about here. It was also cracked there. You can see the crack here. This one didn't come through the roof skin. That one is in the roof skin, so I'll have to make sure we get that welded back up. But it's just so thin. I originally thought it was just a couple of holes, and then it's just so thin. There was just no way around it. So now, that one's got a big old glob of something we'll have to grind out. And that one looks like the roof line stayed pretty straight, so I guess I'm going to get this edge cleaned up and we'll fit our panel in there. All right, well, I got that piece fitted in there. Got all my spot weld smoothed out on the inside. Bent that flange back as best I could. And what I'll do is I'll clamp it along the way as I'm spot welding them back. And then it'll come out smooth. I use these are called Clecos. You drill a 3/16 hole, and though they're kind of like a reusable rivet in a way. See if I can grab my pliers here. I'll show you how that works. I can do it left-handed. So just go on there, and they are, if it'll focus. So you push them together, and the end tongs go together, and in a 3/16 hole, just push it in there, and you let off, and it pulls the two pieces together and holds it where you want it. So I've got those in there all along the way, and then where I want the pinch weld to line up, I've got just the vice grips on there, holding it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a tack here on both sides so I can remove the vice grips and get the inner panel, you know, clamped up on the inside there, see how it all lines up, leave the clecos in it, and then clamp that inner panel. And if it all lines up, we'll get that tacked in. And make sure everything's fitting well before I really go and weld stuff all in. So I've been really dreading this part because there's a lot of spot welds and a lot that can go wrong, I think, pretty quick. But I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out so far. You know, this is the side that, if it'll focus, come on, you can see a little crack there in the roof skin. So we'll have to weld that up. And then I had to cut the flange of the roof skin so I could get all the way through this original piece. So we'll weld that all back up too, and once it's all welded in, then we'll grind it all smooth and should look pretty good. So we'll just keep working at it here. I'm going to get those corners tacked by the vice grips there, and we'll get the inner skin clamped on. All right, now that we got those two ends welded up, tacked in there, I don't have them fully welded. There's going to be, that inner sheet bridges the gap of the seam on that outer piece. So before I really weld up the pinch weld, I want to get that piece behind there, or else it's going to be so thin at the corners where it's just going to blow right out. So it's just got a good tack on there, so it's not going anywhere. All right, so I got the panel clamped into place for the inside. You know, it fits pretty well. The pinch weld lines up very well, a lot better than I was anticipating. I think it might be a little long, so I might have to grind it back just a little bit to make sure the windshield will fit. But I'm not going to worry about that right now or near future. I'd like to have the glass here and the weather strip here to actually see where everything fits, and make sure I'm not grinding off anything I don't have to. So I think what I'm going to do is put probably four of these clecos along the pinch weld just to locate it for when I pull it back off, because I still need to grind all the paint off yet where I'm going to be welding, and then I need to drill holes in probably just the inner panel for all the spot welds on the pinch weld. So I'll throw those 4 clecos in there and we'll pull it back off, get it cleaned up, ready to spot weld back into permanent place. So these are the 3/16 ones. You just drill 3/16 hole, pop it into pliers, and then pop the cleco in, and it'll hold them together, and the hole will locate it exactly where I have it now for when I take it back off. Yeah, these Clecos are a really inexpensive tool that help making these panel alignments go real easy. So, well worth the investment if you're doing this kind of panel work. All right, well, got it all fit in there. Got all my holes drilled for the plug welds. And I think it's coming out pretty good. So, next step here is going to be getting all the holes welded up. I've got to do a little bit more cleanup on that roof skin edge so I get a good weld on there. But next up, we're going to start welding. So little by little, it's coming together. So I think I've procrastinated on this long enough, you know, so it's nice to get this kind of going back together now. I've been working on quite a few other things, so this has kind of been put on the back burner, but starting to make some forward progress on it again. I'm going to get to welding on this, but you guys are going to have to subscribe and see how it turned out in the next video. Trying to get back onto some more regular content here now that I've got a little more free time, and you know, we'll see how it turns out. I think the next step we're going to be going to is getting down onto the floor and starting to make that a bit more solid. So I appreciate you watching, subscribing, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one.